Adai's Okafor stood at the gates of Crown Heights Academy with her admission letter clutched tightly in her hands. Her mother had pressed her only Ankara dress to perfection, and her well-worn sandals slapped gently against the marble floor as she entered. Among the Range Rovers and Louis Vuitton backpacks, she looked like an accident. But Adais didn't flinch. She had a dream: to become a lawyer, to rewrite the story her father never got to finish. Inside, she was immediately reminded of the sharp divide between her world and this one. The cafeteria served smoothies she couldn't pronounce. Students held phones worth her yearly rent, and yet she found peace in the library. Adais immersed herself in academics, determined to build a fortress of excellence no one could tear down. Kunle Okonjo sauntered through Crown Heights like he owned it, which, by all social accounts, he did. The son of Chief Okonjo, a powerful oil magnate whose influence stretched from Lagos to Abuja, Kunle was used to getting what he wanted. He wore designer sneakers, spoke in polished Queen's English, and never looked twice at anyone without a last name worth Googling. But the new girl caught his eye. She didn't chase after him like the others. She didn't laugh at his jokes or gush about his father's latest scandal. She was focused, with fire behind her eyes. Intrigued, he started watching her from afar, curious about what kind of girl dared to walk through his world like she didn't need permission. A school debate brought Adais and Kunle face to face. A speech, impassioned and precise, dismantled his team's privileged rhetoric in 5 minutes. Kunle, though irritated at the loss, was impressed. He approached her afterward, half challenging, half flirting. "You argue like you're trying to break the world." "Maybe it needs breaking," she replied, walking away. From that moment, their conversations became frequent and loaded. They challenged each other about politics, power, poverty, and morality. Kunle had never met someone who wasn't afraid to call him out. Adais, despite her better judgment, began to enjoy the sparring. Late-night WhatsApp chats turned into walks around campus and whispered conversations under mango trees. Kunle confessed his resentment toward his father, whose business empire was riddled with corruption and scandal. Adais, in turn, opened up about her father, a civil servant falsely accused and jailed for a crime he didn't commit. Their pain created a bridge between them. They realized they both carried legacies they hadn't asked for. While Adais fought to escape hers, Kunle was only beginning to understand his. The lines between attraction and admiration blurred, and before long, they were falling, fast. Enter Tiwa Adele, with her perfectly laid wigs, Prada purses, and murder on the school board. Tiwa was Queen Bee incarnate, and she was also Kunle's ex-girlfriend. When she caught wind of his new obsession with that scholarship girl, her claws came out. She approached Adais one afternoon by the lockers, wearing a smile sharp as glass. "You're cute," she said. "But Kunle's a limited edition handbag, darling, not something for the clearance bin." Adais said nothing, but her resolve deepened. She would not be intimidated, not by wealth, not by beauty, not by anyone. Tiwa began her campaign with precision. She dug up photos of Adais's neighborhood, found posts about her mother's groundnut business, and even bribed a junior student to trail her. Soon, Crown Heights was buzzing with rumors, some true, most not. Adais started noticing the changes. People stared longer. Teachers grew cold. Even her study group began to distance themselves. She told Kunle, but he brushed it off. "They'll get over it," he said, not understanding the danger of a poor girl losing her scholarship in a school built by money. Then came the video. It was a short, blurry clip of Adais and Kunle sitting in his car late at night, laughing, faces close. Taken out of context, it looked like something more. Tiwa leaked it anonymously to the school's student blog. Within hours, it had gone viral among students. The scholarship board requested an urgent meeting. Adaise sat in front of a panel of stone-faced administrators defending her reputation and her future. She didn't cry, she didn't plead, she simply told the truth. But when she left the room, she felt the walls closing in. Kunle was furious. He confronted Tiwa in front of half the student body, demanding she confess. But Tiwa just smiled. "Even if I did," she said, "what can you do about it? Daddy's name doesn't open doors anymore, remember?" He turned to Adaise, offering to call in favors, even hinting at bribing someone to make the issue disappear. But that was the final straw. "You still think the world works for everyone the way it works for you?" she said bitterly. "I don't want your solutions. I want your support." Just as the school buzz reached a crescendo, news broke on Channels TV. Chief Okonjo had been arrested by the EFCC. International fraud, money laundering, offshore accounts. It was the scandal of the year. Suddenly, Kunle wasn't the golden boy anymore. He disappeared from school, and his family's name became a stain. Classmates whispered, teachers looked away. For the first time in his life, Kunle felt what it was like to be invisible. 1 week later, Adaise found him sitting outside the school gates, his BMW dusty, his face drawn. "Everything's gone," he said. "The cars, the house, the credit cards, all of it. But I don't feel free. I feel hollow." She sat beside him, silent. Then softly, "Now you know what it's like to have nothing to lean on but yourself." He turned to her, pain and wonder in his eyes. "Would you still want me?" She didn't hesitate. "Yes, but only if you stop running." Adaise returned to school to find her scholarship reinstated. An investigation revealed that the video had been edited and leaked from an IP address tied to Tiwa's cousin. Tiwa was suspended for misconduct and removed from the school prefect board. For once, Adaise walked through the halls of Crown Heights with her head held high, not just for surviving the storm, but for standing through it with integrity. The stairs changed from pity and gossip to quiet respect. Kunle transferred to a public university in Yaba and began volunteering with an anti-corruption NGO. He moved into a modest apartment with his uncle and cut ties with his father's associates. For the first time, he was building his own life. He and Adaise met on weekends, at roadside bookers, at book clubs, at poetry slams. Their love no longer glittered with wealth, but it pulsed with truth. No promises, just honesty and growth. Adaise stood on the stage at graduation, valedictorian of her class. In a speech, she didn't mention names. She spoke of courage, truth, and the strength it takes to stand alone when the world expects you to kneel. Her words echoed through the hall, not just to students, but to every teacher who had once doubted her. Her mother cried quietly in the front row, clutching her handbag and her pride. Kunle, watching from the back, felt a pride he never knew he could feel. He gave Adaise a notebook afterward, filled with sketches of her, of their journey, of dusty roads and golden sunsets. She smiled, tracing the lines. "This," she said, "is the only kind of wealth I want, one that makes people feel seen." Months later, Tiwa returned, rebranded, quieter, but no less calculating. She acted polite, even asked for forgiveness, but Adaise had learned to trust actions, not apologies. She wished her well and moved on. Kunle too let go of old grudges. "Some people are just mirrors," he said. "They reflect what you don't want to become." Adaise earned a spot in a prestigious pre-law program in Abuja. Kunle's NGO started gaining traction online. They celebrated each other's wins, but never assumed the next chapter would be shared. It would be earned. "We're not here because we're lucky," she told him. "We're here because we kept choosing right, even when it cost us." They fought sometimes, over distance, over priorities, over fears that never quite left, but they always came back to one truth: they were better together, not because they needed each other, but because they respected each other. Love wasn't fairy tales and rescues. It was hard choices. It was holding space for growth. Kunle visited his father in prison. It was awkward, strained, but he told him, "I'm going to make the Okonjo name mean something honest." His father laughed bitterly, but Kunle didn't flinch. That night, he wrote a blog post that went viral: "What I learned from losing everything." Adaze returned to her old neighborhood, this time as a speaker at a former primary school. The children stared in awe at the girl who once sat where they sat. She gave them one message: your background is not your destiny. Her mother, now running a small provision store, told her, "You didn't just change your life, Adaze, you changed mine too." They met one evening at a quiet suya joint, the sky pink with harmattan dust. Kunle reached for her hand, rough from books and battles. She squeezed it back. No promises, no guarantees, just two people who had walked through fire and chose each other anyway. Because in a world where money talked and envy shouted, love went through, whispered, and that was enough.